Bengals fans, what is going on? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And on tonight's edition of Bengals Breakdown, we're going to be taking a look at this Thursday night matchup. Pivotal AFC North clash between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Bengals really trying to get things back on track after 2 weeks ago suffering that loss at home to Philadelphia. They bounced back last week with a win against Vegas. Now they have an opportunity against a really good football team, one of the best football teams in the National Football League, on the road on a short week, heading up to Baltimore to take on those Ravens. So we're going to preview that that game today with our video on Bengals Breakdown today. So make sure you guys stick around for a full Bengals versus Ravens preview. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. Our goal in October was to get to 500 followers. Unfortunately, we came up 6 followers short. Here we are in November, 6 followers away from 500. Let's get it right here on this video. I'll give the 500th follower a shout out on a future video, so help me out. Give me a follow at StoneShields_ on Twitter. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page, as well as my own thoughts and opinions as well. Injury updates from the beat writers, of course, additionally. So give me a follow at StoneShields_ would be greatly appreciated. All right, at the top of today's show, we're going to be talking about the injury reports here for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. The most noteworthy name for either team, really, is T. Higgins. Again, T. Higgins did not practice on Tuesday, and he did not practice on Wednesday, and the Bengals are officially listing him as doubtful for this Thursday night game against Baltimore, which really is unfortunate. Higgins, of course, has missed the previous 2 games with this quad injury. Last week, the Bengals were able to kind of just rely on their tight ends, Jamar Chase, of course, as well. But playing an elite football team like the Baltimore Ravens, you're really going to feel not having T. Higgins out there with you on the football field. So, again, the Bengals haven't officially ruled him out for this football game, but I would definitely consider it unlikely that we see T. Higgins again on a short week on Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens. Bengals going to need other guys to step up, which we'll get into later on in our keys to victory on today's show. But T. Higgins probably not going to play for Cincinnati, and that certainly stings. Chase Brown, on the other hand, of course, Zach Moss was placed on IR. That neck injury probably going to sideline him for the remainder of the 2024 regular season. You trade for Khalil Herbert from the Chicago Bears. And you do have Kendall Milton as well from your practice squad. Got called up last week. We'll see what he does. Chase Brown, you were Travion Williams, of course, as well, another running back that you have on your roster. But Chase Brown is your lead back at this point. Despite Zach Moss's injury, he really was starting to take that away from Zach Moss, and you had some concerns coming into the week, I guess, after the Vegas game with that rib injury. Kind of saw him, a little bit beat up, had like 27 carries in that game against Vegas, but Chase Brown is going to be just fine. He practiced in full Tuesday and Wednesday, and the Bengals really going to need him to have a big game. Couldn't run the ball at all against Baltimore last time you played him. Hopefully that changes here on a short week on Thursday night. Chase Brown will be good to go. Charlie Jones, you missed him last week with that groin issue, and he has not practiced Tuesday or Wednesday. And similar to Higgins, they're listing him as doubtful for this game as well. Really, the best thing that Charlie Jones brings to the table is his abilities in the return game, both punt return and kick return. Look for Trent Irwin to fill in those spots again, along with Travion Williams in the kick return game. And hopefully one of those guys can provide a boost. But again, doesn't look like Charlie Jones will be playing for this Cincinnati Bengals team on Thursday. Moving to defense here, B.J. Hill. Some promising signs here. Did not practice on Tuesday, but was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice with a rib issue. Ever since he has come back from his hamstring injury, he's been a massive boost for your defense. So the Bengals really hoping to get him in this game. Obviously, Chris Jenkins is going to be a guy that really needs to step up for Cincinnati, but you would like B.J. Hill to be able to go in this football game. And with that limited participant tag for Wednesday's practice, certainly looks like things are trending in the right direction, and he is officially listed as questionable for this game against Baltimore, as is Orlando Brown Jr. You did not have him against Vegas. You had him, you saw him leave in the Philadelphia game like he left in the Cleveland game, but he has been a limited participant Wednesday and Thursday with that knee/fibula issue. for Orlando Brown Jr. Believe it or not, Cody Ford's done a decent job filling in for him at that left tackle spot, but certainly going against Baltimore, you would rather have Orlando Brown Jr., really a great defensive line that they have. And Orlando Brown Jr., of course, wants to play his former team in the Baltimore Ravens, and seeing him practice a little bit this week is a good sign. Officially listed as questionable. Hopefully, he is going to be good to go, which leads us to the pin comment of today's video. Will Orlando Brown Jr. play on Thursday? I want to know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no for me in the comment section. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. All right, Lamar Jackson, who is, along with Joe Burrow, I think those two guys are playing at the highest level in the league when it comes to that quarterback position. So we really have a great game on our hands here for Thursday night. But he's had some weird, DNPs throughout this season where he's not been out there practicing. Popped up on the injury report with a knee. Didn't practice on Tuesday, but was full on Wednesday. Harbaugh said he 100% is going to play. So just kind of some strangeness going on with Lamar Jackson as far as his routine so far throughout the regular season. But look, he's playing at an MVP level once again, and he's certainly going to be a handful, to say the least, for this Bengals defense. He'll be out there on Thursday night. But some significant news here when you look at the tight end position. Isaiah Likely is going to be out with a hamstring injury. He did not practice at all this week for Baltimore. And look, Isaiah Likely is really a great football player. And he had 2 touchdowns in the Week 5 matchup between the Bengals and the Ravens. So he's not going to be out there. It certainly means more of Mark Andrews. But the Bengals kind of catch a break here, not having to deal with Isaiah Likely in this football game. Again, he's out with a hamstring injury. All right, second half of today's show, let's get into some keys to victory here for Cincinnati if they want to go on the road to Baltimore and pull off the upset as 6.5-point dogs. Look, you got to find a way to have success on the ground a little bit in this game. Now, we'll get to it a little bit later. Baltimore's outstanding as far as their ground game goes, but last time you played them, you couldn't run the ball whatsoever. Chase Brown, taking a look at some of these numbers, he had 46 yards. Moss only had 24. Burrow didn't do anything in the run game either. That tallies 71 yards total, and that's just not going to get it done when you're looking at trying to go out there and have a balanced attack and compete with an elite football team. Keep in mind, it's the team that went to the AFC Championship last year, and barring several mental miscues, could have very easily won that game against Kansas City at home. Taking a look at some of these run defense stats here for Baltimore, they're outstanding. Top of the league in several spots. As far as rush yards per game, they are allowing the fewest at just over 75 yards per game on average. Also, average yards per rush, only 3.4. That also leads the NFL. So it's not just Cincinnati that has issues running on Baltimore. It is the entirety of the National Football League that has issues when it comes to their ground game against the Ravens. So the Bengals have to find a way to have some success on the ground. Maybe it's some reverses with Jamar Chase, something that they've tried in the past, hasn't really worked, but maybe if you scheme it up a little bit better, you could have a little bit more success. But again, no Zach Moss, so it puts a lot more pressure on Chase Brown, who's going to be banged up. You cannot be one-dimensional in this football game. You at least have to threaten in the ground game. You have to pick up executing some short yardage situations when it comes to running the football, and you have to be a threat so the play-action game can really open up for you, and you can take some shots down the field to guys like Jamar Chase, and maybe even Jermaine Burton, which we'll get to a little bit later in the show. Another opportunity for you guys to get interactive with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. 75.5 rushing yards for the Bengals. That's what I set it at. Again, they had 71 last time they played. So let me know, more or over or under. Type O for over, U for under. Let us know in the comment section. How will Cincinnati fare on the ground on Thursday night? Second key to victory here, another weapon is going to need to step up for Cincinnati. Last week, certainly without T. Higgins, you had guys step up, but you were playing Vegas. So we'll get into that in a little bit as far as guys that I think could potentially step up for Cincinnati in this massive game against Baltimore. But first, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, and that is Game Time. Look, Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks is the easiest way to find and buy tickets to live events. Tickets for the Bengals' next home game, December 1st, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, are on sale now, so head on over to Game Time and get the best deals possible. My two favorite features on Game Time, the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. Secondly, the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, as far as potential guys that could step up in this game for Cincinnati, obviously the first guy you think of is the guy that stepped up the past 2 weeks, and that is Mike Gesicki, your free agent acquisition, coming over from the New England Patriots. Had 100 yards exactly last week. Was awesome. Was really big on third down, particularly against Philadelphia the week prior. Didn't have the fumble at the end of the game. But Gesicki is a guy that really has come along these past couple of weeks. Lines up in several different spots. In the slot is really a guy that you can go to in the red zone as well. Joe Burrow clearly has a lot of trust in him. Without T. Higgins, most likely, look for Gesicki to potentially have another big game. Yoshi, as well, could also be a guy that steps up for Cincinnati. I think this year I kind of expected to see Yoshi get more targets. Now, he has struggled a little bit at times getting open, struggled a little at times with his separation. But, boy, he really is a sure-handed guy. And look at that, 4 touchdowns on the season really is miraculous. He's a guy that Joe Burrow really trusts a lot down in the red zone. I would like to see him get some more catches. Only had one the last time he played Baltimore, and it was a massive catch. I believe he only had one last week against Vegas as well, and he did, and it ended up going for a touchdown. So he always steps up in big moments. I'm looking for the volume to increase a little bit for Andre Iosivas. Lastly here, Jermaine Burton. Man, where do we even begin with this guy, right? Everybody was so excited about him coming into the Vegas game, and then he just decides not to show up to work and not give his bosses any indication or reasoning as to why he is not showing up to work. There was the video or the picture floating around social media of him potentially being at a slot machine gambling, which is fine. You know, we all like visiting the casino from time to time, but really, you know, after the things that had happened, you know, the week prior, going there, a bit of a head scratcher, right? But Jermaine Burton, the talent is there. He fell so far in the draft because of these character flaws that he is clearly showing here to all of us here in Cincinnati, but the talent is there. And he always was a big game player at Alabama, and this certainly is a big game here on Thursday night. We'll see if he gets an opportunity. We'll see if he doesn't mess anything up prior to the game beginning and if he'll even be active in this game. I want to know, do you guys think he will be active in this game? Type A for active, I for inactive. Taylor said that there would be no more punishment beyond the punishment from last week, in which, of course, he was inactive. We'll see. Hopefully he doesn't screw anything up and he can be out there for his teammates on Thursday night because they certainly could use him. Third key to victory here, defensive line. Somebody, a piece there has to step up. I think all of us here at Bengals Breakdown, all the fans were hoping that they would add a piece via a trade to, you know, boost that defensive line. Ultimately, it didn't happen. So you got to look at guys that you brought in via draft that have not worked out for you. And I'm talking about these two guys on your screen specifically, Myles Murphy and Joseph Ossai. Ossai certainly a later pick than Murphy on the final year of his rookie deal, so he's looking to make some noise here down the stretch. Hasn't done anything for you so far this season. Myles Murphy, former first-round pick in 2023. He's dealt with some injuries, but he's been healthy over the past few weeks. He hasn't done anything for you. These guys have absolutely stunk for you on the defensive line, and somebody needs to step up because clearly they don't have another choice. They got to keep rocking with these guys because they didn't add anyone via a trade. One of these two has to step up, putting a lot of pressure on these guys. We'll see if anyone can deliver for Cincinnati. Another piece, Cedric Johnson, who I've talked about a lot here, Bengals 6th-round pick in 2024, played a little bit for Cincinnati as I tried to take a look at some snap counts here on the fly. 13 snaps last week defensively, 21% of those defensive snaps, didn't really do anything, no tackles. But again, he's a guy that had some success in the preseason, and maybe he's a guy that you can kind of roll the dice on and see his snap count go up a little bit. Regardless, somebody has to help out the reigning AFC Defensive Player of the Week in Trey Hendrickson. One of those guys on your screen has to do it. Hubbard's been good for you over the past couple of weeks, but as far as rushing the passer, that's not something that he can do for you. So somebody on this list has to step up for Cincinnati in this game. When you look at the interior as well, Chris Jenkins Jr., I'm really pleased with what we've seen from the second-round pick out of Michigan so far this year. Again, another group, it's like, oh, maybe we add somebody, that interior of the defensive line, maybe a Calais Campbell perhaps. Bengals opted not to do it. At this position group, I understand a little bit more because I think you feel good about what you've seen in your rookies, Chris Jenkins Jr. and McKinley Jackson, since Rankins and Hill have gotten healthy. Again, fingers crossed Hill plays. But this line has gotten a lot better. The interior has been a lot better. It's been about the pass rush on the outside. So I have more faith in this group, but certainly would be massive if one of those younger guys could really step up and do some damage for you defensively. Name a defensive player that will step up in this football game against Baltimore on Thursday night. Get down in the comments section and give me a name. Last key to victory here for Cincinnati. Number 9 puts on the cape. Look. It's kind of odd, right? Burrow's going back to where he got hurt. It was a Thursday night game last year in Baltimore. Literally same exact situation. Season kind of hanging in the balance, right? Bengals were really fighting for, staying in playoff contention last year. Certainly doing the same thing here. Joey Burrow's got to put on the cape, and he's going to have a heck of a matchup going up against this Baltimore Ravens team. And look, like I said at the top of the show, I think these two quarterbacks are playing at like the best two quarterbacks in the National Football League right now. So we'll see on a short week which one of these guys is going to be able to go the extra mile, lift their team to the top, and go out there and be able to win this football game on Thursday. Said it last week, was looking to Joe Burrow to, essentially find a way to go out there and beat Vegas. He played great. He was able to do that. Now you're playing a team like Baltimore. He's going to have his opportunities in this game to make noise, and the Bengals, the margin for error with this team is just too small right now. Joe Burrow throws 2 interceptions in this game, they're going to lose. He has to be a heck of a lot better than that. And luckily, he's been awesome for Cincinnati throughout the entirety of this season, and I'm looking for him to keep that up on Thursday night. Give me your score predictions in the comments section right now. Predict the score, Bengals versus Ravens. Be honest with us. But let me know. You think Cincinnati is going to come out on top and win this football game against Baltimore? That is what I believe will happen. I've got Cincinnati winning this game, another high-scoring game, another shootout. I think Bengals execute a little bit better on special teams in this game, and I think Joe Burrow just does a little bit more than Lamar Jackson in this football game. I do think we're in for a quarterback duel of the ages, but Burrow makes 1 or 2 more plays than Jackson. Cincinnati gets back on track with their biggest win of the season, takes down the Baltimore Ravens 33-30.